Movies and news reports have spent years building a specific image of the dark web. They portray it as a monolithic digital underworld, a lawless, chaotic wasteland run by untraceable hitmen and omnipotent hackers. Public perception frequently conflates this dramatized image with the deep web. But the deep web is an essential, everyday layer of the internet. It consists of unindexed databases hidden behind login screens, like your private email inbox, your banking portal, or your medical records. This chart uses the iceberg metaphor to show how the internet is actually structured. At the tip is the surface web, pages indexed by Google. Below that is the massive deep web. At the very bottom is the dark web, requiring specific encryption tools to navigate. The dark web makes up a minute fraction of the internet's total data. To understand why it exists, we have to look past the scary stories and investigate its actual operational purpose. The early internet was designed for efficiency, not privacy. It natively tracked metadata. Even if you encrypted the text of a message, an observer could still see the routing data, revealing who was talking to whom, from which physical location, and at what time. In the mid-1990s, this metadata leak became a critical security risk for researchers at the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory. The military needed a way to use the public internet for intelligence gathering without exposing their locations or patterns to foreign adversaries. Their solution was a system that hid military signals within a massive crowd of civilian background noise. They built a decentralized network that bounced traffic through multiple volunteer servers, eventually releasing the code for free to the public to create the diverse user base they needed for cover. And this project became the Tor network. The US Navy pioneered the hidden web's core architecture to solve its own metadata security problems. The dark web began as a state-funded tool for institutional self-preservation. This works through a process called onion routing. Your computer wraps your data in multiple layers of encryption and sends it through a circuit of servers. At each stop, the node strips away exactly one layer of the shell, just enough to see the address of the next node in the chain. By the time the data reaches its final destination, the metadata trail vanishes. No single server in the chain knows both where the data started and where it's going. The connection between your identity and your activity is mathematically broken. This opacity is a lifeline for what psychologists call benign disinhibition. In countries with heavy state censorship, these networks are the only way political dissidents can access blocked information or coordinate democratic protests without being physically tracked by the police. Investigative journalists also rely on this math. Platforms like SecureDrop run on these hidden networks, allowing whistleblowers to transmit evidence of systemic corruption. It ensures that exposing the truth doesn't lead to immediate state retaliation. Without these encrypted architectures, the basic right to speak against power without being identified by an IP address becomes impossible in a digitized world. But absolute privacy is a dual-use tool. In 2004, Dr. John Suller identified the online disinhibition effect, mapping the psychological shift that happens when human interaction is stripped of physical presence and societal observation. This diagram shows the 6 psychological drivers that amplify behavior online. When you remove social cues and immediate consequences, people's moral constraints often stay offline. This disconnect pushes individuals toward toxic extremes. Criminal cartels have utilized this psychological shield to build a multi-billion-dollar shadow economy. They use the same routing math to operate illicit marketplaces for ransomware as a service, stolen corporate login credentials, and digital exploits. These markets use cryptocurrency escrow systems to create trust between anonymous parties. As this timeline shows, even when law enforcement takes down a major platform like Archetype, the vendors and buyers quickly migrate to newer, active hubs like Torzon. This creates a dual-use paradox. The cryptographic equations that shield a human rights activist like violence also hide an extortionist staging a global ransomware attack. These tools are mathematically incapable of distinguishing between a whistleblower and a criminal. International law enforcement agencies like Europol are fighting back. Since the network routing is unbreakable, they focus on human error. They use blockchain forensics to trace cryptocurrency flows and wait for criminals to fail at their own operational security before launching coordinated multinational strikes. Legislators are also pushing for new powers. In Canada, proposed laws like Bill C-22 reflect a global trend of states trying to reclaim control. They want to compel tech providers to build standardized access points so intelligence agencies can unmask digital actors when authorized by a warrant. Cryptographers argue this is a technical impossibility. A mandated backdoor for the police is simply a vulnerability in the code. Mathematics cannot distinguish between a lawful state warrant and a hostile cyber attack from a foreign intelligence service. This leaves governments in a standoff. They are attempting to legislate a mechanism that ensures total citizen privacy while simultaneously providing a way for the state to bypass it. The dark web shatters the illusion that our digital lives can be both perfectly private and perfectly safe. It acts as an unfiltered mirror, showing how people behave when they believe no one is watching. We are discovering that the exact tools required to protect individual liberty from government overreach are the same tools that disable the transparency required for a secure society. This clash between digital privacy and public safety isn't a temporary bug in the system. It's a permanent side effect of the mathematics we chose to build on. To have the freedom of the hidden web, we must also live with its consequences.